This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by IndyWrestling.us. Check out IWC, RWA, and more. And listeners like you, support this show at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show.
Hungry, scarred, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail dollar set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. Feeding for the taste of the blood.
It is the Indy Mayhem Show. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, PA. Ready to talk on the show where we talk with people in and around independent professional wrestling. A lot of them here in Pittsburgh, but of course we do get a lot of recommendations, and we got somebody definitely an out-of-towner. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. And, of course, you can check out everything at WrestlingMayhemShow.com and IndyWrestling.us. We contribute the Indy Mayhem Show to that as well. And you can subscribe to the Indy Mayhem Show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and video versions on the Wrestling Mayhem Show and Facebook page. And, of course, the live stream tends to pop up over on the IndyWrestling.us Facebook page. And, of course, shared with Wrestling Mayhem Show Facebook as well. Keep an eye on the events over on both of those Facebook pages. You'll see who's coming up, so you'll know the times. We do these kind of in batches and different times, and you never know who's going to pop up, and you never know what surprise interviews we might have in here in the studio on the line. Who knows? And of course, you can drop us a recommendation at Indy Mayhem at sorgatronmedia.com or 412-206-WMS0 or at Mayhem Show on Twitter, which is exactly how we got our guest this week, because our friends at Team Hammerfist actually just suggested, I believe the tweet read something on the line of, you guys must have him on your show. I looked at the Twitter account, and in about 3 tweets, I think I messaged our guest for today. He is the weapon of SaaS destruction and the corporate-sponsored Effy, joining us here on the show today. Thank you for joining us, sir.
What a wonderful introduction. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
So I want to get into, like I said, there's so much to get into around Effy.
Really,
I want to go, what is Effy? What's the deal with this? You have the most in-depth website I think I've seen a pro wrestler have in the last 5 years. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, we'd like a little bit of icebreaker for those that maybe don't know Effy in general. What is your earliest memory of professional wrestling?
Oh, earliest memory of professional wrestling is my dad taking me to see Ric Flair have a title match. I'm going to show my age. This was in 2003. There's like video memories before that, but this is the like real early memory. And we had gone earlier that day to one of the Sprint store signings because I wanted to meet Ric Flair, and he got pulled away from the table, and there was like 2 people in front of me. And they replaced him with the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And so I got my Shawn Michaels shirt signed because I won it at the little radio booth while I was there, which was convenient. So now I actually have a quilt my mother made with my signed Shawn Michaels shirt on it. And I went that night with my dad, and we watched Ric Flair lose to Triple H in Greenville, South Carolina, the World Heavyweight Championship. And I was on the edge of my seat, and it was incredible.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So it's something that kind of captured on you right away, right?
Yeah, and I think, my one thing I've brought up before is there was always this thought in my mind of like, all right, well, I'm this little kid. I'm eating my Funyuns. I'm watching SmackDown. I got UPN because that's the channel that came through. I didn't have cable. And there was never a thought of like, you could actually be a wrestler. You could actually do this. It was just like, man, they must make these dudes in a factory. And they just get pumped out, and that's how it happens. Just watch it. You'll enjoy yourself. So it wasn't until a little later on that I started saying, you know what? I might be able to slip in and do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead with so how did you kind of discover like that this is something that like you can actually get involved in?
Here's the real story. This is the true actual story. So I did a lot of drugs. I was drinking a lot.
Okay.
And I went to an NXT show, and my car wouldn't start. And this guy came up to me, and he said, I can start your car. And then he handed me an 8x10, and his name was White Trash Fred. And he said, if you ever want to train, I will train you how to be a wrestler. And I was like, all right, pipe dreams. Well, I took about 8 hits of LSD one time, ended up in the hospital, got completely sober, and made the phone call because I was bored as hell. I wasn't doing drugs anymore. So I called White Trash Fred, and for the next 8 months of my life, I drove out about an hour and a half every Sunday, and I learned as much as I could. And then I said, you know what? I'm I'm going to start getting booked, because I saw some of the guys that were getting booked, and they shouldn't have even been booked. So there's really no excuse not to book me. And I just kind of worked my way in there.
Mm-hmm. So if from that, like, did the Effy kind of persona kind of come out right away, or was there kind of a development to where you're at right now?
It was kind of a day one thing. So, I mean, like, I was 23 at the time. I'm figuring out my own sexuality. I've been this weird, kind of semi-closeted, overly sexual person for a long time, doing whatever with whoever. And I knew that I could get heel heat immediately, especially at these smaller shows, by just being this overtly kind of feminine thing. And obviously there's a trend of that previously in independent and mainstream professional wrestling, with your Gold Dust, with your Exoticos in Mexico, with your Adrian Streets, that sort of thing. But, I was trying to make it to where they couldn't make the assumption. I would tell them, you can't assume with me. But as I sort of grew into it, my personality's kind of just turned into what it is now, which is just a big, out of the closet kind of ass, who's critical of everything, who's way too sassy of everything, and who doesn't hesitate to call out some BS when he sees it. So it's sort of, it has layers, man. Effy has layers. I'm like a trifle. Effy is a trifle, right? There's the surface, which is, I'm pissing off rednecks because I'm too gay. Then there's a little lower, which is, you're sponsored by Collar and Elbow and Strong Style because they gave you free shipping on a shirt and a 10% discount code. Well, I'm sponsored by Clorox and Planned Parenthood. So take your sponsorships elsewhere. We're going deeper, right? And then I really am corporate sponsored. I make a lot of money during the day when I'm not wrestling, and I can fund enough of the websites and the merchandising and everything else to build my brand to where I am the most marketable, because I have the cleanest designs. I have the best websites. I have the best video production. And then even deeper than that, I might have a demonic element to me. For people who've seen me live, I'm always trying to lead people maybe to the wrong side of the tracks. And through joy and happiness and beauty and fun, they find out that they can have everything they want if they give up their morals.
Let's talk about a little bit of like the reactions a bit, and I definitely want to get into the merch and everything too. So obviously easy to get a reaction here in these smaller towns with the rednecks and whatnot. Was there a little bit of a worry about that, because that can get kind of serious when, especially those small towns like that, where it's still pretty real to them.
Oh yeah,
and then you're bringing this kind of cultural thing to them too.
I kind of took pride in the fact that I could go in there and I could take the heat. And there was heat. And it wasn't heat like, oh, this is a heel. This was heat like, get him out of our building kind of heat. Yeah. And I realized, not to sound too inspirational, but I would much rather that hate be coming at me as a 6'1", 225-pound white male, instead of someone else who maybe couldn't defend themselves as well. So if you want to call me names in the ring and come at me, not only could I probably choke you out in a parking lot, but also, I'm going to come back twice as hard with whatever I'm saying to you. And I'm going to leave you more uncomfortable. And people by the end of the show are going to go, man, he really held his own against, whatever was coming his way. I think one of the first times I did it, I told someone, they said something about I was so gay, I couldn't see straight. They were using slurs. And I said, honey, I look way too much like your Google search history to be talking this much trash. The room just lost it on this guy. And by the end of my match, he was saying, this is awesome. And you kind of see this switch in people where they're like, oh, maybe I was a little hateful and I didn't give it a chance. And now I'm impressed by what I'm actually seeing. So you've got to shut them up front and show them you can hang with them. Because the moment you give them that space in that room to have that power over you, they lose it. And hopefully there's people in the audience too. And I know there are, because they've kind of come up to me and said, look, I'm glad you can dish that heat out, because I feel a lot more comfortable at a wrestling show if I know that you're hearing what I'm hearing and I'm as offended by it as you are, and you're not putting up with it. You're not brushing it off. You're not saying shut up. You're really coming back at them with some knowledge and some facts. And thank God for RuPaul's Drag Race for teaching me how to read these boys.
Absolutely. I've had conversations. We have some friends of the show have talked about, this culture is not really represented too well in wrestling over the years. And it's been interesting. We're seeing a lot of different, guys like you, right, that are doing this and being out there at this.
Well, and I think there's a few issues with it, and we'll get into this. So
yeah.
The first issue is, obviously, as a performer whose sexuality is out there in the open, because it's just who I am at this point. I'm not hiding anything, and I sexually express myself in the ring, and that's fun. You have to ride a fine line between being able to work a match that's worthy of anyone watching and relying too much on gimmicky stuff. And sometimes I like to play with that idea. I did a match with Stevie Fierce out of Chicago, and I said, let's start the match with the joke where I'm on all fours and I'm saying, come get it. And then let's shoot Greco-Roman wrestle for a few minutes. So they're expecting this to turn into some joke, and it starts out looking like one. And then all of a sudden, we're having a real grappling match. And that's the comedy in itself, is the switch. But I see a lot of guys, unfortunately, who they rely a little heavily on, oh, I'm gay, I'm going to do gay things.
Yeah.
So their whole match is sort of this predictable kind of choreographed, like, I can't deal with this guy because he's too gay. And on the other side of that, I still see guys going out there, doing gimmicks that are effeminate or gay. And these guys have, wives at home and are as straight as an arrow. And that, to me, you're riding a really kind of a risky line, because you've got to be true to yourself, or else you're just out there playing a game.
Right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've been told by major United States promoters that I was acting too gay at points. And I was like, honey, I am too gay. What do you want me to do about it? So there's that idea almost that these promoters have to make sure they're not bringing in guys who are just exaggerating a problem or a stereotype, and having to defend myself. I'm currently dating a man. If I wasn't dating a man, would that, exonerate my sexuality? Or, do I have to defend the fact that this is real to me? Or is it something that, they're just, I don't know, they're just having to hold their tongue on because they don't know whether or not it's real?
We've come a long way since the days of the Billy and Chucks and Gold Dust, which were, for the most part, we think, acting the part, right?
Yeah, and Gold Dust, I've said 100 times, is the anti-John Cena for me. So John Cena is, I don't really want to watch his match, but I'd hang out with the dude all day. Gold Dust, I love his matches, but I don't want to hang out with that dude because he's sober. I know how sober people are. I'm a sober person. And if I have to hear about the 12 steps in the Lord 100 freaking times instead of you just putting on the makeup and doing what you do, I don't want to be a part of it.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the merchandising. I'm looking at the website more and more here. I'm loving looking at some of the videos. We showed a piece of it a little bit here and a little bit of your match. It looked like the dog collar match from Fest Wrestling. And there was a little bit of that where you're doing a little of the dances. You're getting ready for it at the beginning too.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing about the website. So my website currently is www.beffy.com. Once again, we're going to go into layers. Here's the layers. It looks like beefy. I'm a beefy boy, right? But if you go to beefy.com, it's just gay porn.
So don't mistype this.
Right? But if you do, oops, what happened? Oh, you went to it. Now you have to look at it.
I'm glad I didn't try doing this live on the air to type this thing in then. I'm glad we do cue this up in advance, because I definitely would have mistyped it.
And then the second layer to that is, beefy, but it's be Effy. You need to be Effy. I'll admit I portray Effy, but Effy is me, So if you can be a little more like me, a little more open-minded, a little more sexual, a little more out of the box, especially with the matches I see, which is the same 8 indie spots over and over, I try not to do that. So be Effy instead.
Awesome.
And then there's also a gallery, I believe, of just nipple pictures.
That's under the Look at Effy. I'm sorry, Effy.
Yeah, that would be Look at Effy.
Yeah.
I think there's just close-up shots of my crotch and nipples.
Yeah.
That's all you need to see.
Yep. There's your mouth that says, does this look like a toilet? Things like that. So...
Yeah, I was told that was unprofessional, so I freaking kept it, because you don't tell me how to live my life.
It's good to be true to Effy, right?
Yeah.
And I was poking a little bit through the where are they at? By Effy. Yeah, definitely. This is for real. You have it says Effy Perfume, a genderless fragrance from Effy.
You ready to get into the details of this? Because this is real life. Here's what happened. This is my third genderless fragrance.
Oh, jeez.
And current PWX and all over the U.S. and Evolve superstar James Drake tried to shade me a little bit and say it was just water in a bottle. I said, honey, you have no idea. So last year, around this time last year, I thought it would be silly to release a fragrance. So I went through the process of figuring out how to make perfume. And I made a scent that would be masculine enough and feminine enough for anyone to wear. And I made 2 separate versions of it, and I sold 100 bottles in a month.
Jeez.
I sold 100 bottles of genderless fragrance in a month. And I told myself I'll never do it again. I had to learn how to make perfume. I had to learn the oils, learn the scents, do the bottling, do the labeling.
And John Cena is not making his tap out fragrance, right?
Oh,
I mean,
hell no. And neither is Mariah Carey. They bring her a smell and slap her name on it.
Yeah.
This is real life. And so then I said, you know what? Enough people are asking about it. Let's do it again. I did another 50 bottles. I think I have 6 left in the car. They were released 2 weeks ago. So I put them at a higher price because I put more into it this time. I made the bottles nicer. I made the boxing and packaging nicer. I think it smells really good. But it's one of those things for me, if you really want to get into the college course that I'm going to be teaching in 10 years, it's called retro future marketing. So hear me out. You release a limited number of a product, the product obviously being genderless fragrance. Mm-hmm. Certain people buy the product. There are people who are going to buy Effy merchandise no matter what it is. That's a fact. I really love them for it, and I appreciate them stepping up all the time. Now, once that fragrance is sold out, once people have already been talking about the fragrance, once people are posting pictures about the fragrance is already gone. There's no more of it that exists. And when people ask about it at a later time, didn't that guy have his own fragrance? Yeah, he did. Let's talk about it. Now, a year later, post the fragrance, you're still talking about the fragrance and you can't get it, which makes it more desirable, which makes your interest in me more piqued. It's retro future marketing, and I think it's going to work.
That's amazing.
Actually, it already did work. I had to do it again.
So it was like a retro future marketing at that point?
We're taking it into the layers. We're becoming the trifle.
Exactly.
It's wonderful.
Amazing. So you got the presentation here. Again, I was watching your video. It was again the kind of your booking video, right? And you talked about the effication.
Effication. It's not convocation, but it's an effication. You can also use the word effify.
Effify. There you go. Explain to me this concept, because I thought this was great. Because it was a little bit about like, hey, maybe you're worried about bringing somebody like me. Here's why you shouldn't be. Right.
Exactly. Well, so I look at people's booking emails and booking videos, and here's my highlight reel, and everybody's vying for the same spots, right?
Yeah.
So the effication is something that we started to notice. Me and my assistant Jerome Champagne, who also works for me full-time as a sales manager. Long story short, he's great. He's wonderful. He handles my merchandise, and most of my online media presence goes through him and me. We said, look, here's what's happening. You get booked somewhere, right? And in the instance of fast wrestling, let's take that one. I got a 5-minute spot with someone who has a checkered past. So, and that was entrance to entrance, 5-minute spot. Opening their first show, let's do it. So the reaction is really strong. And this happens at a lot of places. They see I'm taking care of my character. I'm coming in professionally. I have good gear. I have good merchandise. I'm easy to talk to. I'm fun to be around. And they want to bring me back. So they bring me back. Probably by the 3rd or 4th booking, I'm high mid-card. Maybe by the 4th or 5th booking, I'm the main event. It happens. I don't know why exactly it happens. Besides, I put a lot of care into what I'm doing. So I'm not showing up. I'm not sloppy. I'm not worried about myself. I'm extremely confident in what I do. If I make mistakes, I own up to them. And I'm spending time actually learning and meeting and talking to people, where I go into a lot of locker rooms now. Guys are quiet in the corner. Guys that are interesting online are really, really boring in person. A lot of these indie hype folks are so boring to talk to. And I think by having at least an interest in wrestling to where I can express it and talk to people and getting over nerves and being able to connect with audience members, level that more than just moves, because, you don't want to be the guy who did the move, because nobody remembers what the move, they remember the move. They don't remember the guy is what you commonly hear. Right. So having that connection, I end up getting brought back. So what I know is, if you're a promotion that takes a risk on bringing me in and you don't have an idea what's going on, or you've heard certain things, I know it's going to pay off for you because I've seen it happen time and time again. I'm going to come in. You can put me with anybody as bland as can be. I'm going to give them an interesting match. I'm going to get them over whether I win or lose, and you're going to do good business off of it. I've seen people come into shows that I've been booked on for the first time who said, we literally only came here for you. And that sounds so cocky to say. But when people are coming up to you, 9 or 10 people at a 60-person show, yeah, that's more people through the door just because you put me on the show.
Yeah.
Now, is somebody you paid $500, all right? Let's say it's a big indie name. You paid them $500 to come in. That's a lot of your budget and talent. If we're getting down to the profit and loss statements here. Are they saying, wow, this indie talent, I have to show up for this? Or are they saying, I already bought a ticket, but I'm glad he's there too? If the case is, I'm glad I bought a ticket, I was going to come anyway, I'm glad I got to see that person, then you as a promoter just wasted $500. That fan was going to show up anyway. What are you doing to bring in people to your promotion, to pay more money to come to your promotion that are not already coming? And people are not realizing that a lot of these guys that are big names on the internet, big Twitter names, big indie draws online that are on these big shows, they're not bringing in more people than who were actually going to show up. I think I can bring in more people because I have a diverse fan base. I have people who typically wouldn't even come to wrestling who are just intrigued by the weird videos and stuff I'm doing. And I offer a product that's different than everyone else's. You can say I could fit into a category with maybe, other gay wrestlers or other things like that. But I promise you, you could take off my fishnets. You can take the flashy jackets. You can take everything else away. I'm still going to provide you a very interesting product because I care about what I'm putting out and I'm not repeating myself. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as stand-up comedy. There's a guy who can go do an hour set 100 nights a week. That's the same hour set. But if you've seen the set, what are you going to come back for in the next month? You've seen everything he does. He does the same thing every time. So constant experimentation with my character and what I'm doing obviously led me to this point and is going to continue to lead me to whatever I become. Was that a mouthful?
A little bit, but that was almost a college course in marketing yourself right there. So
hey, I'm trying to get those college courses lined up. I've got some information to spill.
There you go. Second, third career already lined up. And that's really important because I know we talk a lot with the wrestlers here locally that it's hard to get them to be on a Twitter, Instagram, like even just putting themselves out there on the social media that exists just as them as a wrestler, right? Do you have any advice for new wrestlers that are trying to kind of figure out how to put themselves out there like that, like in a manner like you are?
Yeah, I think you really. This sounds kind of silly from the outside, but one of the best pieces of business advice I ever got was you are seeing the world through your own eyes, right? And that's kind of a limitation because you're only seeing what you're seeing. You have to go above yourself and kind of look from the sky and be completely self-aware. I am completely self-aware. I know when I need to look goofy. I know when I need to come off as an asshole. I know when I need to do certain things. And being that self-aware, I can make myself the butt of the joke. I can be a serious competitor. I know how to put myself out there because I know my character so well. So if your character is, I'm a badass, you better be a badass. If your character is, I'm a high flyer, you better be a high flyer. But as far as an internet presence goes, how is that going to translate? Is it going to be a lot of pun jokes about how you're flying? Is it going to be constant updates about people you're actually beating up in real life because you really are a badass? When you say you're a badass and then I see a cell phone promo of you in front of an apartment complex, you're not a badass. You're a guy who works part-time somewhere standing in front of an apartment complex pretending to be someone. How do you disappear the line between pretending to be someone and having that character come across completely real? And I spend a lot of money on video promotion, but you really don't have to. There are ways with phones now, with video editing programs, with software, with all that kind of stuff that's already in your phone to where it doesn't have to look like crappy cell phone videos. And if you're taking the time to set your lighting, to make sure you're centered, to make sure you've got your camera set up correctly, you're going to be able to put that presence out there in a way more professional manner.
It's almost like a part of the getting through wrestling school should be a minimal video production, kind of tutorial, right?
I think so. Yeah. I did an Evolve tryout last year, which went, I'll say, for Gabe, it went terribly because he hated me. For me, it went excellent because William Regal shook my hand and told me I was very entertaining. So But during that time, they do have Stokely Hathaway, who people may be familiar with, kind of giving tips on social media. And I realized when I was sitting there, when I was the only one asking questions about, real social media, that people have no clue what they're doing. And people are asking questions along the lines of, how often should I update? All the freaking time is how often you should update. If you don't have anything to say, find something to say.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not on the forefront of what people are thinking, then they're not going to be thinking about you at all. And promote the shows. Don't just promote the shows by sharing the poster. Make the post interesting. Do something weird with it. I mean, there's no limitations to how you can promote a show. And if you're talking and doing a promo, don't cut the same promo as everyone else. I joke in the locker room with guys and do the same promo, which is easy. I'm going to do it real quick. This time, you've made it personal and you've crossed the line. So at event, on date, this Saturday night, you're going to have to step in the ring with me and you're going to have to put your title on the line, because people know that once you cross me, there's no coming back. So name of opponent, you better be completely ready, because I'm coming in and I'm ready to kill. Everybody's cut that promo. Every single person.
It seemed to start as a Triple H impression. Is that by accident?
Oh, no. Have you been to an independent wrestling show? Everything is a Triple H impression.
That is true. Everybody's trying to be...
Everybody puts their tough guy voice on, which I'm the opposite. I know I'm tough. Yeah. I'm fine with knowing I'm tough. I don't need to come off as tough as my character. When I get in the ring, I can be tough, right? When I snap my lid, I can be tough. But if I'm trying to get a little heel heat, I wouldn't want to come off as tough. Mm-hmm. I would want you to go, this asshole needs to stop talking like this. This dude is talking out of his head. This dude isn't going to get anywhere. There's no way this dude's going to beat anybody. Absolutely. And then I do,
Awesome. Well, what are you watching these days? Is there anything that you're kind of watching for inspiration, or anybody that's kind of caught your attention out there?
Yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of independent stuff, and I sit behind the scenes on a lot of shows too, so I'm just watching stuff. One person who I literally cannot take my eyes off, and I will not stop talking about him, is a guy named Saif Al-Sabah. And Saif Al-Sabah, if you don't know him, he's been doing some stuff with MLW, Major League Wrestling. This past weekend, I'll give you his travel schedule. He went from, Friday he was in Dayton, Ohio. He showed up, got to be a part of the Rockstar Scramble. Saturday, drove back to Miami, Florida, was in the Ronin Pro Wrestling Triple Threat. And then Sunday was in Charlotte for PWX. The guy does not stop. And I don't think workhorsemanship is the maker of a competitor. But when you watch this dude work, he is the most charismatic, aware character in wrestling. And he's incredible. I can't stop talking about him. If you need me to spell it, it's Saive, and then a space, and then AL, and then a space, and then SABAH.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to look him up here, and I was trying to go to PWX.
It's something you kind of have to just experience in person, because I've never seen somebody own a room with that much swagger. The guy knows what he's doing, and I will not stop bragging on him, because I can't stop just watching him wrestle. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. So what is the best and the worst thing about indie wrestling for you?
So I will plug, I do have a little series I've been doing that only has 3 parts so far, and it's called Talk and Shoot with Effy. And I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any of this yet.
Yeah, we've been pulling up a little bit in the background here while you've been chatting.
I started doing this because people were like, you complain a lot about stuff in indie wrestling. And the reason I complain so much about indie wrestling is because I really love pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling so much. But I hate when people ruin pro wrestling. There's so much stuff, especially with the internet, of people just ruining pro wrestling. I mean, examples I brought up before are Make-A-Wish merch, which is just the worst merchandise you've ever seen. Homemade crap, T-shirts that should have never been made. And they're like, well, I sold a few of them. And I'm like, because it's Make-A-Wish merch. They're donating to your little charity. They don't want the actual piece of merchandise. They just want to say they helped you and they helped you along. And really, they'd probably give you the $15 if they didn't have to take the shirt anyway. Another thing I complain about is guys pretending to be AJ Styles. And really, it's a bigger problem of guys just pretending whatever's hot for the week, they're going to do that. So, Ricochet's hot, we're all Ricochet. AJ Styles is hot, we're all AJ Styles. Kevin Steen is hot. Oh, I'm Tubby and I like Kevin Steen. Let me start telling people I work a Kevin Steen style. I hear that all the damn time. Oh, I work more of a Kevin Steen style. No, dude, you don't work a Kevin Steen style. You're just tubby and you want to wear a T-shirt. So, I mean, there's a lot of things I complain about in there. Training videos being posted online. I'm sorry. I break kayfabe a lot, but I don't need to see the moves you and your little bro are practicing all the time. And then this weekend, you're now heated competitors. Oh, cool. And you guys just posted your selfie in the car together. Here we are. We're going to the show together, and you're the opponents that night. People look at that, and it's just trashy. You're sitting there with your opponent, and now you're going to try to convince people, oh, we actually hate each other. We're enemies in this match. But you guys know because it's wrestling. It's just insulting. We know wrestling is predetermined or fictional or fake or whatever you want to call it. But you don't have to rub it in to the fact that, like, me and my bro are out here living our dreams. Yeah, we freaking know it. Go live your dreams, but keep that part off the internet. Nobody needs to see you botch another Rana.
Great.
Am I too real?
So that is the best and the worst.
It's all of it. It's me constantly going, this is trash. I wish it was better. And, oh, my God, I love this so much. It's like I'm in the worst abusive relationship with wrestling possible.
Aren't we all? So some more than others. So tell me, where can people find you online, and kind of generally where do you show up in case people check this interview out later on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am currently the Fest Wrestling champion. I just beat Sue Young. So you can find me at Fest Wrestling. I'm doing a lot of Southern dates because I like the South. So I've got PWX coming up in March. I've got Southern Fried Championship Wrestling coming up in March. I'll be in Alabama for the New South Hoss tournament in March. And then, I'm working a show in a church this Saturday night, DCCW. Because what's better in a church than this big queer boy?
Amazing.
So my social media, I'm also really controlling about it. My Twitter is freeform thought all the time. Today I posted a picture of me as dead Billy Graham holding his daughter's hand, but his daughter was a drag queen and I was Billy Graham, and it said, "Daddy is a homo." I don't care on Twitter. I go wild on Twitter, and I will go in on some things. Facebook is a little more, hey, I'm promoting the show. Here's a video. This is fun. And Instagram is extremely tightly controlled personal information, and I make sure I only share what I can there. Instagram and Twitter are kill Effy because everybody's trying to. And Facebook is now just listed under Effy. I think if you do facebook.com/Effy Gibbs, it'll still show up.
Yes.
But it is listed just as Effy. And then to get to my YouTube, you just go to tinyurl.com/watch Effy. And that's how you can get to that page. And I'll tell people, if they haven't seen me before, there's no one in wrestling making weird videos than me, then maybe Joey Janela on a good day.
Yeah. He just put out that 8-bit thing. That was pretty impressive.
Listen, all hail Joey Janela for doing something different, because a lot of people in wrestling can't handle it, and I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I think hopefully very educational for any of the young guys out there. So, and hopefully we see you up here in the Pittsburgh area. I know I'm going to be circulating the video around to the promoters around here, and hopefully one of them will bring you up.
Dude, thank you. Hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you having me, man.
No, thanks a lot, and thanks again to Team Hammerfist for recommending you as a guest on the show. Again,
I'm currently the Team Hammerfist Internet Champion. Right? I should probably take that belt out of my car so that I can get some photos made with it. Shout out to Team Hammerfist. Sorry I have not done photos yet.
There you go. And again, you guys, please, if there's anybody we're missing, I know we get a lot of Pittsburgh and Cleveland kind of area guys here, but hey, it's what we're around. Always looking to get other people from other areas doing really cool and interesting things on the indies and having these great conversations. Check out everything at WrestlingMayhemShow.com, and please support the indie wrestling that we have going on at IndyWrestling.us. And until next time, support Effy and support indie wrestling. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.